Well, what we have here, nice little pieces of equipment, Melvin. Make sure we steal this. What, you got a problem with that, Mr. Collin? You knew what you was asking when you got us in the booth. Anyway, it's your pal Rat, heart of the criminal underworld, soul of the criminal underworld, just your favourite guy. Telling you that you're listening to the Seven Valkyrie podcast, brought to you by us, the slowest scum of the earth. If you got a problem with that, you can take it up with us by downloading our app. Visit the adventure, see all sorts of art, bonus features, stuff that, we call the stuff that we steal from you, your bonus features, actually. So, but you gotta make them pay. You getting them to pay for it? Yeah? Oh, maybe this model's working a little bit better than I thought. You're not making any money yet? Yeah, that's what I thought. Download it, help this guy out, you gotta really just, freaking fiddly-diddly-diddly-do, Quick, Melvin, let's get to stealing. Hello, everyone. This is your friend Colin, creator of the Seventh Valkyrie podcast, and welcome back to the Seventh Valkyrie podcast. So I titled this one "Nature is Fucking Awesome," and I just wanted to kind of rant about that for a second. When I was young, I loved reptiles. My best friend was my imaginary friend was Super Cheetah, and then I loved Snaky Dude, and then I was a big dinosaur guy. Oh, I'm sure none of you were surprised, having read any of Seventh Valkyrie, that I was a huge dinosaur guy as a kid. I had a big book of dinosaurs. I think it was called the Big Book of Dinosaurs. And then I had several other big books of dinosaurs not mention the same thing. Then I got into Pokemon because I was like, shit, these imaginary animals are even cooler. And then I was like, oh man, I wonder what other crazy cool worlds have crazy cool animals in them. And I was a huge fantasy dork after that. I was like, oh, magical worlds, fantasy dragons. I loved reading shit about dragons. Dragons are cool, just objectively. Yeah, and still a Pokemon dork, still a huge dork around this. Like, one of my favorite series of all time was Godzilla, because it was like, oh my god, giant monsters, kaiju fighting each other. I loved Pacific Rim, didn't like Pacific Rim 2. I loved the Cthulhu mythos because of all the insane creatures. I love a good creature feature, especially monster movies that have like a cool monster. There's this thing called The Ritual that has like a two-headed, or maybe it's a one-headed like forest monster with like it's like an elk, but like its thing is like two bodies and they make jaws, and it's kind of like a spooky. I don't know, but it's really cool. Like I'm like, whoa, and I'm like, I don't like scary movies at all, but like I will look up summaries of scary movies by Kill Count. Actually, is my favorite channel. I wanted to shout out. James A. Janice, he says it in the beginning of every one. But yeah, he's got a great channel, and it basically has helped me appreciate horror movies because I'm so scared of horror movies, but I can watch them through his comedic and appreciative stylings. Anyway, sidebar about that. But like I was a huge animal person, and I love nature. I even applied to be a zookeeper at one point. I was training at the Audubon Zoo down in New Orleans. I went on down to the Audubon Zoo. And then I realized that, like, apart from like one really cool moment where we got to feed giraffes, and I tell you, giraffe tongues are like in Alien when she, like the big mouth can't get to her, and so the little mouth on the inside is like, it was like that, but with a giant giraffe tongue, because you're up there and you're like, oh, I want to feed a giraffe, and you don't realize that these are gigantic dinosaurs that are coming in, and they're like, hey, I see that you got food, and I was like, hey, like I've got my little bit of food, and I was feeding the big guy, like I forget it, maybe his name was Harold the giraffe, and he saw that I had like a handful of food in my other hand, but I was like, oh, no, that's not for you. So he's like, he looks at me, he's like, I think that is for me. So he starts, kind of moving in because he's a giraffe and he can move a little further with his big old neck. And so I start like backing up to the end of this platform, and he pins me up against the wall, and I'm like, and he's like, bump, bump, bump. And I'm like, haha, I am a human. We planned around this. And then out comes this little freaking alien tongue, and I was just like, I'm this like way further than you, like, because you're like, oh, cool, giraffes, like they've got a long tongue. It's way scarier in person when they are like giant xenomorph alien. Blah 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 blah. Anyway, another sidebar. But you can see how giddy I get when talking about cool animals, and you can see that all throughout the 7th Valkyrie. Like, I love coming up with cool animals, hopefully that feel like they make sense. Like, I love just like adding shit into places and being like, tree crawler, this octopus in the trees. That'd be really cool. Razor hawks and the armorots and muck moths and shit. And I love trying to give them names that like make sense for the world, like where I can create a creature, but like, oh, that's what it is. Like a tree crawler is like, you're like, oh, like whatever that is, it's probably got a lot of legs. Like a muck maw, very clear. And I try to give them names, and I try to resist the trope that I think it's the worst in Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I don't want to speak ill of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Avatar: The Last Airbender, first of all, was made for children. Second of all, is one of the greatest pieces of modern television ever created, and I will stand by that and fight to the death over it. But they had animals like, badger bears and mongoose lizards and a saber-toothed moose lion. And I'm like, you just added one animal into the name of another animal. And then we're just like, our animators will figure this out. Little bit lazy, but hey, like you created you created 4 new cultures. You can cut it easy on the on the freaking what's it called? On the animals. Love those guys anyway. But like I wanted to take the extra step. And so I was always a huge fan of nature, but that actually changed when I got from, and when I was writing 7th Valkyrie the first time, I was writing it from Atlanta. So I was kind of writing it from my memory and from, just kind of my imagination. But then I got to Costa Rica and I lived here. And I got to work at the foot of a, 1,100-acre tropical dry forest preserve. I got to collaborate with people in the mountains of Monteverde, one of the most like biodiverse locations on Earth. I got to work and collaborate with a nonprofit that does diving down here, where I got my advanced diving certification and got to dive with some incredible experiences and learned their role in protecting the area. I just got more involved. Like, Costa Rica is a huge ecotourism place, and the people behind the scenes are even cooler than the things that you get to see in front of the scenes. And it taught me 2 really cool things that I wanted to share about how nature is fucking awesome. First, if you want to see animals go underwater, people come. This is just a note for anyone coming to Costa Rica. Really going a lot of places. People come to all sorts of places. People come here expecting that you're going to see all these animals like that are on the postcards. Like it's a zoo, and it's not a zoo. It's wild nature. And if you go and you show up to the reserves, they're like, oh, we don't ever see anything. Like, the animals are just they hide from us. They're better at hiding from us than we are at finding them. Especially land animals, which are like, oh, big stomping creature coming through the forest. Like, I should probably get the hell out of here. But fish don't give a shit. Fish are freaking everywhere. And if you take time to protect their area, like what happened over COVID, specifically in this area, where all of a sudden things have been starting to get fished out. All of a sudden they couldn't fish, couldn't do all these things. Boom, populations exploded again. I may be super, what's it called? I may be super not lucky, not jaded. Whatever the good version of jaded is. I may be spoiled. Since I live by what may be one of the top dive sites in Central America. I can literally hop on a boat and go there in 20 minutes from my house. Very lucky, very lucky. And fortunate about that location. But if you've ever seen Planet Earth and you go diving, it's if you've ever seen Planet Earth and you walk into a jungle, you're going to be very disappointed. If you've ever seen Planet Earth and you go diving, you might be surprised by the cool shit you see. And that's kind of the big difference, is a lot of people are like expecting like, oh man, like everything's just going to be everywhere. It's like there's not that many animals, but there are that many fish. And it's really cool. Like you can't even, I've swum in schools of fish that are so thick, I could barely see light above and below me. And like these fish will enclose around you because they're like, oh cool, you're peaceful. Like let's, something's not going to fuck with you. So let's chill with you. I've seen flocks of rays 100 strong while you're coming up from like schools, 100 strong of these little rays, soaring across the ocean as you're coming up for a safety stop. I've swum alongside bull sharks off of Isla Murcielago. And like I haven't even begun to hit the like bucket list places that people have worldwide of like swimming with whale sharks, going to the flower gardens, Blue Hole, all across the Great Barrier Reef. It's just like, there's, if you want to see animals go underwater, is my thing. And the other thing I've actually learned, and this is in working with partners up in Monteverde, is that, dude, trees and plants are actually fucking dope. It's weird. I say that like such a bro, but like trees and plants are so cool if you actually learn about them, especially like they're hardcore. Like if you learn about them, like especially like up in Monteverde or a place like Costa Rica where there's this, like it's a constant struggle for survival every minute of every day. It's so cool. Like they're always fighting for light. They're always fighting for water. They're always fighting for resources. They're fighting off parasites and like things that are trying to eat them, and then trying to attract other things that will eat them, but like protecting their prey animals. And like they're constantly competing for survival until they either grow and like reach like gigantic sizes or they die. And then like, and that's it. Like that's hardcore. Like it happens really slow, but it's really cool. This is the first time I've gotten to just dork out about this. I've gone to Monteverde quite a few times because we have a client up there, and we visited there with my family. And it's just really cool to see like, they're like they have these things called strangler figs that are like these vines that will climb up a tree and then like send down vines back to the ground and like slowly encase the tree until they suffocate it of all light and resources, and you're left with this weird skeletal husk of a tree as the other one like rots away on the inside. Like if that wasn't happening with trees, that would be a horror movie. There are flying seeds that create like that like drift on the wind and then land in these oases, these little puddles in the crooks of branches, and then they sprout, and then like other things come land in the flowers of those plants. And so you have like this insane ecosystem that exists like well above the tree line, like well above the canopy or well above the lower canopy. Like, in Avatar where they're like, oh, we have a tree and all the trees communicate and it's got like a semi, something consciousness. There are actual trees that do that. Like there are trees that have root systems that communicate and allocate resources and are like, can be like, oh shit, this other tree over here, like it needs some protective stuff because it's getting attacked by beetles. And then they'll all like funnel their like protective anti-beetle juice, which they can make sometimes by synthesizing it from other plants that are like there to help. And like be like, oh, and then all of a sudden that one's like, thanks guys, and like goes like, it goes Super Saiyan and puts out a bunch of anti-beetle juice, and all the beetles are like, we'll go elsewhere, sorry. Anyway, yeah. So you can, and that's without even getting into like the animals that thrive on land. Like you don't see them, but like a jaguar has to kill or die. Like a jaguar, like that's again, like you're talking about like, that's it's real life Squid Game happening every single time, and then it eats whatever it kills. That's just like, and then it's just constantly on the move to hunt or die. Like that's, I don't know, that's really intense. Like how would that mesh with our society? Because we don't hunt or die. Now I guess we do. We kind of have moved beyond that, but like. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't kill anymore. And it's like, well, we used to have to, but now we don't have to. But so now, I don't know. So when you can see how in my brain, like creating a world so rich and full of nature creates and then allowing magic to bridge that world into, it's like a world that is so irreversibly tied to nature and this magical world around it. And you can see how that brings up a lot of questions. And you can certainly see how, like, it's fodder for great material, not just for creating a fantasy world, but for asking yourself, like, when you think a little deeper, it's like, what interesting parallels and correlations can we draw, and what stories can we tell based off of the badass metal as shit life of your average tree? So, yeah, nature's fucking sick. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Well, thank you for listening to the 7th Valkyrie podcast. As Melvin has unfortunately informed us, Colin is actually the writer of the entire series, and has put us through the ringer in the past fucking... I don't know whether you've been listening to the podcast, because apparently we are fictional characters of his own creation. So I am obliged, through no choice of my own, to let you know that if you'd like to listen to more 7th Valkyrie shit, then you can go to the 7th Valkyrie app for all sorts of the full adventure and new art and bonus features and all that bullshit. Quick, Melvin, run! Go, go, go! Go, I'll hold them off!